I'm gonna try to film this as fast as I can because it's really hot in my garage. A question that a lot of guys, or at least a question that I see a lot on the Ninja 400 Facebook group or the R7 Facebook group is, what kind of bike should I get for my first bike? Guys say, oh, get a little bike, and you have the street squids that say, oh, get a 600 Super Sport, or they say, well, you're gonna get bored with the little bike, and you want to go ahead and just get a big bike now. And it's really very simple. Ninja 400, Ninja 300, Yamaha R3, KTM RC390. Those are the four probably main bikes. I would say Ninja 300 and Ninja 400. Probably the Ninja 400 because there's probably more of them available on Facebook Marketplace. Bike used, you want to invest, especially if you don't know if you're going to really like motorcycles very much. You may like the idea of motorcycles, but actually going out and riding, even I feel like this. I go do a track day or a race, and it's just like all this work. I'm like, man, it's hot. I'm like, what am I doing this for? Do I still really want to do all this effort? Usually the answer I tell myself is yes, I do, because I like it a lot. But point is that you don't want to go and spend $10,000, $12,000 on a bike, brand new from the showroom, ride it for a year, half a year, and you realize, well, one, I don't ride it very much, it just sits in the garage collecting dust. Or, because I don't have enough time, or, oh, we got a kid now coming, or I don't have anyone to ride with, so I'm just kind of bored just riding by myself, or, oh my God, I almost got killed and now I'm afraid to go ride. So you don't want to spend a lot of money, obviously. Another good reason to start on a little bike is, imagine a 15-year-old doing your learner's permit to drive a car. Would you put that 15-year-old in like 120 horsepower, 140 horsepower Honda Civic, or like an easy, slow car? Or do you put them in a vehicle like a 600 horsepower Mustang, so you can watch them leaving Cars and Coffee and wad it up? They lose the rear and they wad it up around a pole or a tree. Obviously, you put them in a slow car because they're dumb and they're slow. They don't know what they're doing. They have to learn. The same goes for a bike. It's crazy to think that these guys it's one thing if someone has like a lot of motocross experience. Motocross racers, like off-road racers, they've got experience on two wheels, they're usually pretty good. Now riding a sport bike is different, but a lot of the skills you learn doing motocross can translate to a bike. So those guys are a little bit different. It's still not good to get a 600 Super Sport for your first bike because those bikes are so much faster than what motocross racers used to. Even like riding a 450. 450 is fast, very fast. And it feels crazy fast when you go like that on dirt compared to street. But still, it's still best to start on a Ninja 400. One, for learning, and two, the cost, and three, because of how much fun you're gonna have. If you feel like you can control the machine, you're going to have fun. If you feel out of control, you're not going to have fun. And I can guarantee you, you're not going to feel in control starting off on a 600. And even the street squids that think that they're fast, they're slow. They're very slow. They think they're fast because they've never been to a racetrack before, but they're actually really slow. So not only should you start on a little bike, you should go do some track days too. A lot of track days, you can rent leathers if you don't have leathers. You have to have full gear. Boots, gauntlet gloves typically, full leathers. It doesn't have to be a one-piece suit, it could be a two-piece suit, and a helmet obviously. And so a lot of street guys, those suits are expensive, over $1,000 for a decent one. And so if you're riding on the street, obviously that's a lot of money to invest if you don't even know you're going to do track days. So you can usually rent leathers, which is good. But you should try to go do at least like 5 or 6 track days at least. You'll learn so much doing that. But as far as cost of track day, they're not that expensive. Now, if you're doing them every weekend, it's very expensive. But if you do, you know, once per month, it's more reasonable. Most track days you can go do them for like $200 or less, maybe even. So $200 a month, I mean, cut back on some of your frivolous spending to pay for a track day. Most people, if you can afford to get a motorcycle, you could probably afford to do a couple track days. That's another thing that people don't realize, is that most people don't take very good care of their cars as far as maintenance. It's insane how badly most of these squids maintain their bikes. Number one way to tell if a bike is not taken care of is look at the chain. The chain looks old, rusty, and shitty, then that person probably doesn't do anything on the bike, because you're supposed to do the chain often. But you need to learn how to do the maintenance yourself. Learn how to do oil change, learn how to tighten the chain, how to lube the chain. Pretty much anyone, even if you're not mechanically inclined, there's so many YouTube videos. If you have half a brain, you'll be able to figure out how to do that stuff. And it's good to do it yourself instead of paying a shop to do it, which can get kind of expensive. So that's another good reason to do it. So get yourself a little bike, and don't spend too much money. Buy it used. Do not buy a brand new bike. You can get these used Ninja 400s for $4,000 to $5,000 is a pretty common range, depending on how old the bike is, how many miles, what part of the country you're in. I got this one stock. It was a 2021. It had been dropped once. Miles were low, like less than 2,000 miles, and I got it for like $4,000 even. And then I put all my race stuff on it. But you should not spend more than $5,000 on a used Ninja 400. You should not buy one new. You should never buy one new. You can find a good used one. So, and you'll have a lot less buyer's remorse if you're just not dumping out so much money. So when you spend a lot of money, and that's obviously relative, $4,000 is a lot of money. Maybe not to some people, but $4,000 is a lot of money to me. You're gonna have less buyer's remorse the less you spend, obviously. So that's it, guys. Just keep it simple. Get some decent gear. Go do some track days. Get a little bike and learn to really ride. And you're gonna have a lot more fun learning to ride on one of these things than a 600 or, God forbid, a freaking 1000. So, anyways, guys, until next time, see ya.